I was so excited and over the moon when I got my first job ever. But unfortunately, my excitement faded before I could even tell you what happened. And please, don't forget to like the video if you love the Midnight Fear Stories channel. I was hired as an accountant at a small company downtown. The building was somewhat old, but it had a classic feel to it. My desk was next to a large window, and the coworker sitting directly across from me was a girl with long black hair. When I first sat down, she looked me up and down, then went back to her work. I didn't know why she did that, so I smiled at her and said, "Good morning. I'm Emily. Nice to meet you." But she ignored me and didn't respond. She just kept writing intensely in the notebook in front of her. She didn't stop for a second. The sound of the pen was loud and irritating. She was pressing down on the pen so hard, like there was anger and frustration building up inside her. Honestly, I was bothered by her reaction, but I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was busy with something important. But the strange thing was that all day, she did nothing except write and write, completely focused on what she was doing. Honestly, she made me curious. I wanted to know what she was writing. She kept filling the pages and quickly flipping to a new sheet of paper. When I tried to look at what she was writing, she immediately covered the page with her hands without even looking at me. Then she gave me a strange, suspicious look. During the break, I sat with some of my coworkers and asked one of them, "The girl sitting across from me, does she usually have lunch with you?" She looked at me in surprise and said, "Who do you mean?" "The girl with the long black hair who spends all day holding a notebook and writing in it." I laughed nervously and said, "Yeah." She told me no. I honestly haven't noticed her. I went back to my desk and found her still sitting there, writing with the same intensity. She hadn't eaten, moved, or even taken a break. There was also a pile of papers covered in writing scattered on the floor beside her desk. I said, "You could take a little break. The work isn't going anywhere." But she ignored me again, didn't answer, and continued doing what she was doing. So I thought, whatever, it's none of my business. I tried to focus on my work, but the scratching sound of the pen was driving me crazy, so I put on my headphones to block out the noise. After a while, I decided to get up and make some coffee. I looked at her as I stood up and saw that she was still sitting there writing, but her entire body looked completely frozen. The only thing moving was her hands. I felt like she was a robot, not a human being. Honestly, I was shocked by how intensely she was working. As I was walking down the hallway, I ran into the company's engineer and asked him, "Excuse me, is there something wrong with the air conditioning? It's extremely cold in my office." He looked at me in surprise and said, "Really? No one else has complained. Anyway, I'll check what's going on and fix it." I went back to my desk, but the room had gotten even colder. I rubbed my hands together and looked at the temperature. It was 27 degrees, which was a normal temperature. So what was going on? I looked toward the window to see what the weather was like outside, and I saw something strange. At the exact moment, my coworker was writing like crazy. I saw her reflection in the window. It was completely still. It wasn't moving at all. Then the reflection suddenly turned and looked at me. My heart almost stopped. I closed my eyes for a moment, and when I opened them again, her reflection was normal. I thought I must have imagined it. When the workday was almost over, the employees started leaving, but she was still sitting there, writing, just like before. We were all getting ready to leave. I asked her, "Aren't you going home?" At that moment, she stopped writing and slowly raised her head, but her hair was still covering her face. She said in a very low voice, almost whispering, "They don't see me." I felt a chill run through my body. "What are you talking about?" She didn't answer me and went back to writing even more frantically, faster than before. Then the office lights started flickering. I looked around and realized everyone had already left. I quickly gathered my things and was about to leave, but I looked behind me and saw her watching me. There was something strange about her eyes, something unsettling, something mysterious that I couldn't understand. I felt uncomfortable and knew I had to leave. Quickly the next day, when I arrived at the office, I found a note stuck to my computer screen. It said, "Please report to my office. Mr. Daniel was my manager." I got scared and thought, what did I do wrong? How could I have already messed up? I walked into his office with a tight feeling in my chest. He looked concerned and said, "Emily, are you okay? Your coworkers have noticed that you're not yourself." "I'm fine, sir." "Okay. If you need anything, let us know." I went back to my desk, but my coworker was gone. The strange girl wasn't there. I felt an unexpected sense of relief. I thought maybe she had taken the day off. It was probably better that way. All day, I worked on a complicated spreadsheet. Suddenly, the office lights started flickering, and strange symbols appeared on my screen instead of the data I'd spent all day working on. I got angry and called the company's engineer to come and see what had happened. He said it was probably some kind of data malfunction. While the engineer was checking the computer, I looked at the dark screen and saw her reflection. She was standing right behind me. I turned around quickly, but she wasn't there. "Did you see her?" He shook his head and said, "Be careful." Okay, at the end of the day, I decided to investigate the situation myself. I went to her desk and found her notebook. It was filled with desperate handwriting. I carefully opened it and found the same sentence repeated over and over again. "They don't see me. They don't see me." I felt a strange coldness. "You can see me, right?" I looked behind me and found her standing directly in front of me. This time, her hair was pulled away from her face. I saw her face clearly. She was incredibly pale, almost transparent, and her eyes were filled with despair and sadness. She said in a hoarse voice, "I used to be just like you. I was new here, full of excitement and energy, and then what happened?" Tears began running down her face. "They were putting so much pressure on me at work. They don't see me. You can see me, right?" Suddenly, the light bulb exploded and the lights went out. The entire place went dark. Terrified, I stepped backward and tripped over a chair, falling to the floor. When I looked up again, she was gone. A few days later, I returned to the office just to get my belongings, because there was no way I could continue working in that place after what had happened. While I was gathering my things, I found a small envelope on my desk. I opened it and found an old photograph of the girl laughing with her coworkers at an office party. On the back of the photo, there was a name written in shaky handwriting. Karma read, "I went to Mr. Daniel's office to hand in my resignation. While I was there, I asked him, 'Can I ask you who Karma Reed was?' He froze for a moment and looked at me. He said, 'Where did you get that name?' I showed him the photograph. He sighed and said, 'Karma Reed used to work here, but she left a while ago. Why doesn't anyone talk about her?' He replied nervously, 'She jumped from the window of your office after she was denied a promotion. She was supposed to get promoted because she was very hardworking, but back then, there was a different manager. I wasn't working here at the time. She always used to say, 'Why don't they see me?' He then said, 'Let's not talk about this.' That's when I realized that the girl who had been sitting in my office was a ghost, not a human being. Maybe she was trying to send me a message. Don't get too excited or work too hard because they won't appreciate my efforts. Just like what happened to her." As I walked out of the building, I looked at the window next to my desk, and for a moment, I saw her standing there, staring at me and watching me. Then she disappeared completely. I never saw her again. But I still can't understand why she did that to herself. Can pressure and injustice really push a person this far?